Here's something most people never realize. Success isn't just about intelligence. It isn't about talent, and it certainly isn't about speaking louder than everyone else. The people who influence others, the people who earn respect, the people who naturally attract opportunities, all share one invisible skill. They know how to communicate. Communication is the currency of life. It determines the quality of your relationships. It shapes your career. It influences how people see you before they even know who you are. And the sad reality is this: most people spend years learning mathematics, learning science, learning technical skills. But almost nobody is taught how to communicate effectively. That's why brilliant people are often ignored, while average people with exceptional communication become leaders. Today I'm going to share 9 timeless communication principles. These aren't tricks to manipulate people. They're principles that build trust, create influence, and help people genuinely want to listen whenever you speak. The first lesson may be the most important of all. 1. Listen like it matters. Most people believe communication begins when you start talking. It doesn't. It begins the moment you decide to listen. Think about the people you enjoy talking to. Why do you like them? Usually because they make you feel heard. They don't interrupt. They don't constantly shift the conversation back to themselves. They make you feel important. That's a rare gift. Most people don't actually listen. They're simply waiting for their turn to speak. While you're explaining your problem, they're already preparing their answer. While you're sharing your story, they're thinking about their own. That's not listening, that's waiting. Great communicators understand something different. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Real listening requires complete presence. Put away distractions. Stop checking your phone. Stop rehearsing your response. Simply be there. When someone speaks, watch their eyes. Listen to their tone. Notice their body language. Sometimes emotions speak louder than words. A person might say, "I'm fine," but their voice tells a completely different story. Great communicators hear both. One powerful habit is to repeat back what you heard. For example, "So if I understand correctly, you're frustrated because you feel nobody appreciated your effort." Immediately, the other person feels understood. That simple sentence builds trust faster than giving advice. Another secret: ask better questions. Instead of saying, "I understand," try asking, "What happened next?" or "How did that make you feel?" Those questions invite deeper conversations. People love talking to someone who genuinely wants to understand them. Here's another lesson: don't fear silence. Most people rush to fill every quiet moment. Successful communicators don't. Silence creates space. It allows emotions to settle. It gives people permission to think. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all, just listening. Remember, people rarely remember every word you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And feeling understood is one of the greatest feelings a human being can experience. 2. Master the power of the pause. Have you ever noticed how confident speakers never rush? They speak, pause, then continue. That pause isn't weakness, it's power. Most people speak too fast because they're afraid of silence. But silence is where your words gain value. Imagine reading a book without punctuation. Everything would blur together. Your voice works the same way. Pauses create emphasis. They create emotion. They create anticipation. When you finish an important sentence, pause. Let people think. Let your words breathe. The greatest leaders do this naturally. They understand that influence isn't measured by how many words you use. It's measured by how deeply those words sink into someone's mind. Another advantage of pausing: it gives you time to think. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond intelligently. That one habit alone can save friendships, relationships, and careers. In difficult conversations, pause before speaking. Ask yourself, will these words improve the situation? If the answer is no, don't say them. Silence has prevented more regret than words ever have. 3. Speak for your audience, not your ego. One mistake destroys communication more than almost anything else. Talking the way you want instead of the way they need. Every audience is different. Your boss, your spouse, your child, your friend, they all receive information differently. Great communicators adjust. Not because they're fake, but because they care about being understood. Imagine explaining technology to an 8-year-old. You wouldn't use technical language, you'd simplify it. Now imagine explaining the same idea to an engineer. You'd speak differently. That's communication intelligence. Before speaking, ask yourself, what matters to this person? What are they worried about? What outcome do they want? When your message answers those questions, people naturally listen. Another powerful habit, use stories. Facts educate, stories inspire. People forget statistics, they remember emotions. Jesus taught through parables. Jim Rohn taught through stories. The greatest communicators in history understood this principle. Stories create pictures inside the mind, and pictures last far longer than information. Always remember, communication isn't about proving you're smart, it's about making your message unforgettable. 4. The rule of simplicity. Have you ever listened to someone explain something, only to leave more confused than when they started? That happens because many people mistake complexity for intelligence. But the truth is, the smartest communicators don't make things more complicated, they make them simpler. Think about the greatest teachers you've ever learned from. They didn't impress you with difficult words. They impressed you because they made difficult ideas easy to understand. That's real intelligence. Albert Einstein once suggested that if you can't explain something simply, you probably don't understand it well enough yourself. Successful communicators know exactly what message they want people to remember. Not 5 ideas, not 10, just one clear message. Because a confused mind never takes action. Before speaking, ask yourself one question. If the other person remembers only one sentence from this conversation, what should that sentence be? Then build everything around that idea. Avoid unnecessary details. Avoid trying to sound impressive. Speak like you're talking to a close friend. Simple words create powerful connections. Complex words often create distance. Remember, people don't admire complicated communication. They admire clear communication. Clarity creates confidence, and confidence creates influence. Whenever possible, replace explanations with examples. Instead of telling someone what discipline is, tell the story of someone who woke up every morning at 5 a.m. for years. People understand pictures better than definitions. Another powerful habit, remove every unnecessary word. Short sentences carry more power. Instead of saying, I was wondering if perhaps we could possibly consider, simply say, what do you think? Less noise, more impact. Never speak to impress, speak to connect, because connection always beats perfection. 5. Your body speaks before you do. Have you ever met someone who didn't say much, yet immediately commanded respect? It wasn't their words, it was their presence. Communication is far more than speaking. Your posture, your facial expressions, your eye contact, even your breathing are constantly communicating. In fact, people often believe your body before they believe your words. You can say, I'm confident, but if your shoulders are slumped, your eyes avoid contact, and your voice shakes, no one believes you. Your body has already told a different story. Great communicators understand this. They stand with purpose, not arrogance, purpose. Their movements are calm, intentional, relaxed, because calmness communicates strength. One of the fastest ways to build trust is eye contact. Not staring, not intimidating, just natural eye contact. It silently tells the other person, you have my attention. Another overlooked secret, smile. A genuine smile changes everything. It lowers tension, creates warmth, makes people feel safe. People naturally trust those who make them feel comfortable. Your voice matters too. Don't rush, don't mumble, speak clearly, with confidence. Every pause, every change in tone adds meaning to your message. Great speakers don't just use words, they use rhythm, energy, emotion. And remember, people may forget your exact sentences, but they'll never forget how your presence made them feel. Become someone whose presence brings confidence into every room. 6. Empathy is the language everyone understands. Imagine talking to someone who never tries to understand how you feel. Eventually, you stop talking. That's why empathy is one of the greatest communication skills in the world. Empathy isn't agreeing with everyone, it's understanding them. You don't have to share someone's opinion to respect their emotions. Great communicators know this. Instead of asking, "How can I prove I'm right?" they ask, "Why does this person feel this way?" That single question changes everything, because behind every angry person is usually a hurt person. Behind every difficult person is often someone carrying invisible pressure. When you understand emotions, conversations become easier, arguments become fewer, relationships become stronger. One simple phrase can completely change a conversation. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," try saying, "I understand why you see it that way." Notice the difference. One creates conflict, the other creates connection. People don't want perfect advice, they want understanding. Sometimes, the greatest gift you can give another person is making them feel seen. Here's another powerful habit. Never interrupt someone sharing their emotions. Let them finish. Silence is often more healing than advice. Many people don't need solutions immediately. They need someone who genuinely cares. That's empathy. And empathy builds trust faster than intelligence ever will. The strongest leaders, the strongest parents, the strongest friends are almost always the best listeners. Not because they know everything, but because they make others feel valued. Always remember this. People may challenge your ideas, they may disagree with your opinions, but they'll never forget how you treated them. Respect is remembered. Kindness is remembered. Empathy is remembered. And that's why the greatest communicators don't try to win conversations, they try to win hearts. 7. Ask better questions. Get better conversations. Have you ever noticed? The most respected people in the room usually aren't the ones talking the most. They're the ones asking the best questions. Questions are powerful. A single question can change someone's perspective, repair a broken relationship, or even transform a life. Most people ask questions to keep a conversation going. Great communicators ask questions to understand people. Instead of asking, "Did you have a good day?" ask, "What was the best part of your day?" Instead of, "Are you okay?" ask, "What's been on your mind lately?" Notice the difference. The first question ends the conversation. The second one opens a door. Open-ended questions invite people to share more than information. They reveal emotions, dreams, fears, values, and that's where real connection begins. Another secret: don't ask a question and immediately interrupt the answer. Many people do this without realizing it. They ask, then they mentally prepare their next sentence. Instead, be curious, listen completely. Let the silence do its work. Sometimes the most meaningful answers come 5 seconds after the question. People simply need time to think. If you want people to trust you, stop trying to impress them, start trying to understand them. Because the person asking thoughtful questions usually controls the quality of the conversation. 8. Frame your words to inspire, not to win. Words have power, but the way you present those words has even more power. Imagine two people describing the exact same situation. One says, "This problem is impossible." The other says, "This challenge will make us stronger." Same situation, completely different mindset. Great communicators know how to frame their message. They don't ignore reality. They simply choose language that creates hope instead of fear. Every conversation gives you two choices. You can focus on obstacles, or you can focus on opportunities. Leaders choose opportunities. That's why people follow them. Here's another lesson. People rarely remember facts. They remember stories. A simple story creates emotion, and emotion creates memory. Jim Rohn understood this beautifully. He didn't just teach success, he painted pictures with words. That's why millions still remember his lessons decades later. Whenever you want to explain an idea, tell a story. Use an example. Create a picture inside someone's imagination. Facts inform. Stories transform. Another powerful technique. Frame your advice around benefits. Don't tell someone you need discipline. Instead say, discipline gives you freedom. Now the same message suddenly feels inspiring. That's the power of framing. Never use words that create unnecessary fear. Use words that create possibility. Because people don't move toward fear, they move toward hope. 9. Let your actions speak louder than your words. Here's the final lesson, and perhaps the most important one. Your words mean nothing if your actions don't support them. Trust isn't built by promises. Trust is built by consistency. Anyone can make a promise. Very few people consistently keep one. If you say you'll call, call. If you promise to show up, be there. If you say honesty matters, live honestly. People are always watching, not because they're judging you, but because they're deciding whether they can trust you. And trust is earned, one action at a time. Integrity is simple. Do what you say, even when no one is watching, especially then. The strongest reputation isn't built through speeches. It's built through daily habits. Small actions repeated over time become your identity. People eventually stop listening to what you say and start believing what you consistently do. That's real influence. Not popularity, not charisma, character. Character speaks even when you're silent. Communication isn't about sounding intelligent. It's about making people feel understood. It isn't about winning arguments. It's about building relationships. The greatest communicators don't dominate conversations. They elevate them. They listen with intention. They pause before reacting. They speak with clarity. They communicate with empathy. They ask meaningful questions. They inspire through stories. And above all, they live the words they speak. Imagine what would happen if you practiced just one of these principles every single day. Your relationships would become stronger. Your confidence would grow. People would begin to trust you more. Opportunities would appear where they never existed before. Not because you changed who you are, but because you changed how you communicate. Remember, your voice is one of the most powerful tools you'll ever possess. Use it to encourage. Use it to inspire. Use it to bring out the best in others. Because in the end, people may forget your achievements. They may forget your titles. They may even forget your words. But they'll never forget how you made them feel. And that is the true power of communication. Thank you for watching. If this message helped you in any way, take one lesson from today and put it into practice before the day ends. Because knowledge changes nothing. Action changes everything. See you in the next video.